Have you felt like giving up, like there's just no point going on and trying anything else in your life? There's been too much pain and loss. There's just too much dragging you down. We've all been there. We've all felt like that at one time or another. I'm going to share with you today ways in which you can keep going, in which you can keep putting one foot in front of the other, that you can keep making a purpose for yourself in your life. I'm Allison, and this is my Elder Gal journey. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, and I worked for a number of years as a bereavement counselor. So, I'm going to deal with the issue of feeling like you just want to give up. And I don't mean people with long term depression or suicidal thoughts. If you're having those kind of thoughts, if you've been depressed for a long period of time, please seek professional help. This is not designed to deal with issues that severe. But I'm talking about the average person who goes through periods where they just go, what's the point? I've gone through too much. I'm tired. I just feel like, why try anymore? And so that's the kind of feelings that I want to deal with today. And as I said earlier, we've all been there. We've all experienced this at one point or another in our lives. It is really hard sometimes to break out of the rut we're in mentally and try something new, because often it takes something new to get us to that next stage that we need to be at. I read something in a book once that said sometimes when there's nothing else left to do, just make a pile of pebbles, and that's the first step towards the next stage of your life. So sometimes just doing something small, maybe you rearrange a closet, maybe you decide to move around your furniture in your home, maybe you decide to purge your clothing, whatever it is. Just by doing something small, you start activating that muscle, I call it, inside of our brain that basically allows us to go on to something else. And it is very important to have this. And you have to keep doing this no matter what your age. People with 20 struggle with this, people in their 40s struggle with this, people in their 60s, such as I am, struggle with this. And people older than that struggle with this. But it is very important, as long as you're alive, as long as you're on this planet, in this plane of existence, however you want to think of it, it is really important to keep finding a purpose for yourself in your life. Now, for me, the one thing that has really helped the last few years is music. I find that when I sit down to play guitar or sing, that is the thing that no matter what kind of day I'm having, it will make me feel just different. I'm not going to say it makes me feel tremendously better, although it usually does make me feel better. It just that it changes my brain. It changes the focus of my mind. And that's the important thing you have to do. So find a hobby or something you're really good at or whatever, and make that the thing that changes something for you that day. It could be as simple as also going for a short walk. Moving. Just movement by itself changes your mind, changes your brain, changes your thinking. So it is very important to always move, especially when you least feel like it. When you're just laying there and you're feeling down and you say, I don't want to do anything, make yourself get up and move, because that will make a big difference. I'm going to tell you a story about when I was a bereavement counselor. I had a client who was 93 years old, and his wife had died, and she was about the same age. They'd been married over 70 years. And she died just basically of old age. It was like a gradual decline. And this man was not only just a delightful person, but he taught me a lot about keeping going. And even in his grief, and believe me, he was grieving, even in his grief, he still knew that you have to have a purpose every day. And for him, he was a stained glass artist. And, maybe the first couple of weeks after his wife passed, he didn't really do much. But then when I would go to see him once a week for a while, he would say, I've got to go out in my garage and start, dinking around with the stained glass stuff that he did, because that gave him a sense of purpose. And as the visits with him, went along in the ensuing weeks, he also shared with me these goals he still had in his life, and one of them I still remember very clearly. Before he died, it was on his bucket list to take the Trans-Canadian Railway across Canada. And I don't know if he ever did it. I hope he did it. He was certainly in good enough health to do it. He was pretty healthy for a 93-year-old. And but I have never forgotten him. In fact, about a year after I stopped seeing him, I stopped by his place. He lived in a community where I was seeing someone else, and I just wanted to stop in and say hi. And he was in his garage working on stained glass stuff about a year later. So this is a person that knew how to stay motivated even in the midst of his loss and his feelings of grief and feeling like, why would I go on? And believe me, plenty of people at that age would just give up. They would just give up. But he didn't. And I've always remembered that. It stayed with me. I thought, how can I feel like there's nothing to do or nothing to plan or no goals to set at my age when this 93-year-old was still doing that? So keep that in mind. I think the message here is sometimes even when you don't feel like it, you have to kind of, what we say, fake it till you make it. In other words, go do something, anything that gets you moving, that gets you motivated, even for 5 minutes, and it will lead to something else, which will lead to something else. And eventually you'll stop having to fake it, and you'll be able to actually want to do things and want to move forward in your life. It is very important to keep going, one foot in front of the other as you move through life, no matter what life throws at you. Because believe me, it throws good stuff and it throws bad stuff. And hardly any of us are immune from that. Most people deal with significant loss, significant tragedies in their life. And the people that, and I wouldn't say it's strength, because it's not a matter of strength. It's a matter of remembering that you have to just keep going. And so I'll leave you with that message today. Until next time, be well and keep moving forward.